Hey, V-Shred fam, what you and A. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed all of the content that you got this week. We had lots of great workouts. We had lots of great conversations. We had some challenges and just an opportunity to really understand what V-Shred 1 is all about. But more importantly, for you to sort of understand kind of how to make this last for you, how to really utilize all of the tools that are at your disposal at VShred, and be able to kind of create a plan or decide to work with a coach and make this last for the longevity for you. I say this typically at every single video that at VShred, we're not really about the 30, 60, 90-day quick fixes for you, the crash diets and stuff like that. We're here to help you discover how to make or establish really great habits to make this last for the long term, and more importantly, have these results last for the long term. So on today's edition, there was a post put out yesterday, and there are some opportunities for you to be able to ask some questions. I'm going to go through those questions, offer you some quick answers and such, plus a couple extra little goodies in there as well. And at the end of this, if you feel like you have more questions that were not answered, just drop it below in the comments, and myself or one of the other awesome coaches that were a part of the masterclass this week will be be happy to help you out with that. So let's get started. All right. The first question that was asked was, what happens after weight loss? How do we stay consistent and how do we train smarter with carb cycling? Well, that's kind of like all of the questions that were asked, but the first one mainly was, what happens after we reach our goal weight? So first off, celebrate that thing. You hit a major milestone and you also accomplish something that a lot of people are not able to accomplish. So many people tell themselves, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. I'm going to hit this weight, or I'm going to like get healthy or get back in these jeans or get back down to a size 8 or something like that. And unfortunately, a lot of people fail at that, but not you. You reached your goal weight and you should celebrate that accomplishment, because not only did it show that you can put your money where your mouth is, for one, but also that you are capable of doing hard things. And that should be something that is celebrated all the time. From once you hit your goal weight, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Losing weight is the easy part. Everybody thinks that's the hard part, but it's maintaining your weight after you hit your goal weight. That's the difficult part. Because say you're in like a caloric deficit and you're doing all this extra cardio, or you're doing all these extra workouts and stuff. And you're like, you know what, that was really like, I could do that for like, 30, 60, 90 days, but like, I'm not sure I can sustain that for, 40 more years or something like that. So we have to understand what the concept of maintenance is. Maintenance is being able to sort of find your set weight and be able to stay with that. So say that you were 200 pounds. I'm going to use just really easy numbers here because I'm only good at barbell math and not any other math. So say that we were 200 pounds. We had a goal of hitting 150. Congrats, we made it to 150. Now, when we hit maintenance, something to remember, and what I tell my clients is that maintenance is plus or minus like 3 to 5 pounds on either side of that 150. So sometimes your weight can go up to 153, sometimes it can go down to 147, but for the most part, we're maintaining our weight around 150. An easy way to think about that is like when you're driving in the car, the speed limit is 55. Sometimes you're going 57, sometimes you're going 50 because you got stuck behind some person that can't drive. And sometimes you get really angry and you go 62. But for the most part, we're staying 55 miles per hour. Body kind of acts the same way. So don't think just because you hit that 150-pound goal that the second that you go up to 151, that suddenly you failed or whatever. Plus or minus 3 pounds on either side is what I typically tell my clients to aim for. The way that we're going to accomplish this is by something called reverse dieting. And this is where we sort of gradually increase our calories, typically about like 100 to 150 calories per week, until our body has a new set point. Now, when you we're in a caloric deficit, we sort of decrease calories, your body adjusted to that. Maybe we had to decrease again, your body adjusted to that, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing happens when we are reverse dieting. The goal is always going to be to eat as much food as possible without gaining weight. So we do that by reverse dieting. So say that you were eating, 1,700 calories and you reached your goal weight of 150 pounds. Next week, I would tell you to increase to 1,800 calories. And you can do that. The easiest way to do that is usually by adding more carbohydrates in. I typically like to tell people to start by adding more protein and more fat to begin with because it doesn't overwhelm you quite as much, and we all can use more protein in our diet. 100, and this is something like, don't overthink this either. So about 20 grams of protein is going to be about 100 calories. So that's really, really simple to do. You could just add 1 extra ounce of protein to each one of your meals, and boom, there's 100 extra calories in there. So you add that extra 100 calories, 100 to 150 calories in each day for the first week. Track your weight. You might see a little bump to begin with, but it'll probably stable back out. If you notice that eating 1,800 calories, you're able to still maintain at about 150 pounds, the next week, go and add another 100 calories in. So now we're up to like 1,900 calories. Now we're getting to the fun spot because the more calories you have, the more wiggle room you have with your food intake. Same thing, track your weight for about a week or two. If it stabilizes, add an extra 100 calories. This is honestly the way that when you see some of those like bodybuilders or fitness influencers and they're like, I eat 3,200 calories a day, it's because they reverse dieted themselves up to that point. I have taken many, many, many of my clients to starting off at 1,500 calories up to 2,000 calories and being able to maintain their weight. That's a pretty big range, and you're able to do a lot more with 2,000 calories than you can with 1,500 calories. So this phase is key in keeping your results and not bouncing back. Because we don't want, what happens a lot of times, especially with people who do crash diets and they end, is they just gain all of that weight like right back because they just start binge eating again and again and again and again. So we want to just kind of do this strategically because we don't want to end up where we were when we first started. So 100 to 150 calories each day, slowly, gradually increase that over the course of a couple of weeks. You'll find a new sort of set point where you're like, all right, maybe it's 2,000 calories, and now suddenly like you're gaining weight, you're gaining weight, you're gaining weight. Okay, bump it back down to 1,900 calories. Let your body kind of get into that 147 to 153 kind of range again, and just chill out there for a little bit. Now, the important part of this is that we're really looking to lock in habits and not chase perfection. So part of when you're doing a program like this is having to sort of like rewire your brain and change a lot of your eating habits. So we don't want to run back to fast food 5 days a week or anything like that. We want to really have, just a little bit better understanding of what makes us feel good and what doesn't make us feel good. And that's, this is all sort of maintenance. You can hang out in maintenance forever. There are plenty of people that go from 200 pounds down to 150 and they just hang out and they stay there forever and ever. Some other things to look out for while you are in sort of this phase is keep an eye on your strength training. You still need to exercise. Don't think of exercise as like I need to do it to burn all of these calories. Think of it as I need to exercise because it makes me feel better. It helps me accomplish things during the day. My cognition is better. My joints feel better. It makes my body just move better. My muscles feel really good. It helps me show up and do something hard every single day. So try to take away the exercise portion as a caloric burn and more as a body enhancement. And when you're in this sort of reverse dieting and stuff, if keep an eye on your strength gains, like I said. So make sure to monitor like you're still getting stronger. Either you're increasing your weight, you're able to do more reps, or just the weights feel better for you. And then also monitor progress via your clothes, energy, and move. All the same things that we talk about when you're in a caloric deficit, not just relying so much on the scale, but also relying on kind of those internal factors as well. So hopefully that makes sense on what to do once you reach your goal weight. The next question I had is, can I start using my own recipes on the 90-day program? And yes, you absolutely can, but with some guidelines. You want to make sure that you're sticking to meals that match your macro balance. Typically, we try to do that high protein, moderate carbs, fat, or carb cycling if that's what you were doing with your low, moderate, and high carb days. You will probably need to use some type of food tracking system just for a little bit to begin with until you kind of get more used to things like a MyFitnessPal or like the Lose It app or Macros Plus. There's tons of them out there. But you want to try and stick with meals that are going to match that same macro balance as what you had in your plan to begin with. Always make sure to check labels and portion sizes. Recipes that look healthy, quote unquote healthy, can be huge calorie bombs too. The example I like to use is like cauliflower crust pizza. A lot of people grab a cauliflower crust pizza because they're like, oh, I want to be healthy. And like this, like, I'm getting rid of the gluten, I'm getting rid of the wheat, it's cauliflower, it's going to be great. And then you look at the package of it, and it's the same amount of calories as like a regular piece of pizza. So just do yourself a favor and really look through food labels and stuff like that when you start using your own recipes. If you're not tracking yet, stay close to the plan and start with just swapping 1 or 2 recipes a week. So clients that I have when they're ready to sadly spread their wings and fly and be on their own and not work with me anymore, which is a good thing. That means that we were successful. I usually try to tell them pick 1 or 2 things to start swapping your own stuff in to begin with, and then slowly each week add more. So maybe it's you decide for one breakfast and one lunch during the week that you're going to swap your own recipe in for. And then the next week, it's going to be 2 breakfasts, one lunch, and maybe one dinner. And then the week after that, it's, 3 different breakfasts, 3 different lunch, and then 2 different dinners. So kind of that, it's almost kind of the same thing as like with reverse dieting, where we slowly add things back in. Same idea with starting to use your own recipes and stuff into your meal plan. Don't think you got to just do everything all at once. It's okay to go slow because we want to make this last for the long term. And last part I will say about that is to really use your program as your anchor and then experiment slowly with new foods. So if those of you that are working with a one-on-one coach, we talk a lot about this food swap Bible and stuff. And we really try to tell you the first week or two to stick to the plan. And then after about 2 weeks, when you're pretty comfortable with the plan, you start using the food swap Bible to swap things in and out. You can use the same idea with your own recipes. The next question is, what workouts pair best with carb cycling? And this is actually a really good question. I'm really pumped at the person who asked this. And I have a couple different suggestions for you. First off, if it's adds too much stress to your life to think that you need to start correlating workouts with like a high, low, or moderate carb day, then just keep doing what it is that you were doing. The beauty of carb cycling is that we're eating the same amount of calories every day. It's just where those calories are coming from is what differs. So it's not like, one day we have 2,000 calories and then another day we have 1,400 and then another day we have 17. It's, 2,000 calories across the board. If you want to start to get into things a little bit more particular, I would say your higher carb days are a great opportunity to do your strength training, any type of like longer hit type workouts. So like if you're a CrossFitter or something like that, or you like burn boot camp or like Orange Theory classes or stuff like that. Those are usually a bit better to do on your higher carb days just because you will have a little energy bump from that extra glycogen in your bloodstream. Your lower carb days are really great for kind of like walking, yoga, light cardio, mobility work, some other classes. Like if you're taking like a spin class or something like that, like you could get away with doing that on a low carb day, as long as you're keeping the calories where they should be. So something you may have heard during this week is the kind of like metabolic flexibility. Your body uses carbs more efficiently when timed around intense training. So if you want to save kind of like your really heavy leg day for a high carb day, take those carbs, bookend them for the main part around your training. Your body's going to utilize them a lot easier. You may notice some energy dips if you try to do like a really heavy like leg day or something like that on a lower carb day. However, when your body starts being adapted to burning fat as fuel during those low carb days, you're still going to have energy. So kind of like an ideal like workout split if you're doing carb cycling, switching from low, moderate to high carbs is try to do about 3 to 4 days of weights, 1 or 2 days of cardio, and one rest day. So remember, you could, on a moderate carb day, you could get away with doing something like an upper body workout, just because it tends to not be as taxing on us. Like if you were doing like a bis and tris workout or like a chest and triceps or something. Typically, like your like a heavy back day or a heavy leg day, you're going to want to save for those higher carb days. Let's see. But also at the end of the day, before I forget, like a workout is a workout. You're going to have way more gains by doing the workout than by sitting on the couch and not doing anything. So if we start getting so caught up in like the small little nuances of like, well, I need to make sure, well, today's Tuesday and it's a high carb day and I should do a leg day, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to the gym. So I guess I just won't do a workout because I'm supposed to do like a heavy strength training day on my high carb day. That literally defeats the purpose of what it is that we're trying to do by making this as last for longevity for you. Just do the workout at the end of the day. 10 reps on like a low carb day of some back squats is going to be better than 0 reps of not being able to do it on any other day. I actually saw this really good thing on Instagram the other day, and it said, God, I wish I could remember exactly what it said, but it was something along the lines of you build more strength on even a not so perfect workout day than if you just sat on the couch or something along those lines. So that's kind of, related to sort of this like, when should we work out with carb cycling and stuff? The ideal way to do it is how I said, but that doesn't mean that you won't still get results if you kind of just work out what you can work out. All right. And the next question we had was balancing real life and socializing while staying on track. So it is almost April. Like, how the heck did that happen? Which means that, Memorial Day weekend's coming up. We got the summertime coming. People like to have lots of barbecues and parties. We got 4th of July. We got Labor Day. We got all sorts of fun stuff coming up here very soon. And a lot of times people, when they're in a program like this, they get super nervous because they're like, I feel like I can't like enjoy myself for anything that I'm doing. This does not have to derail your progress at all. Don't have yourself feel guilty for socializing and enjoying yourself. One of the reasons why I say this is we have all of these different pillars of health and fitness that are important to us: our nutrition, our sleep, our exercise, our stress management, but also something that we forget about is those interpersonal relationships and kind of and like socializing and stuff. If you don't have a good social network, or you're avoiding going to social events, or you're avoiding kind of connecting with people because you're on this diet plan, then you're not going to be super successful with it because you're missing out on that really vital part of your overall health and well-being to begin with. It's very, very simple to be able to balance what you're doing and trying to accomplish with your V-Shred programs as well when socializing. First and foremost is just plan ahead. Eat a little bit earlier or lighter in the day if you know that you're going to a big event later on. Prioritize protein in the beginning of the day. Like, just get in that like high protein breakfast, high protein snacks, high protein lunches. I tell my clients, like, drink a protein shake before you go to the event. One, because protein makes you feel fuller for longer. You're going to feel more satiated. And also, a lot of these events are very carb and fat heavy. Very often do, events kind of have a lot of like a beautiful like filet mignon in front of you, or some really beautiful chicken breast or something. We tend to get really carb and fat heavy. So really prioritize that protein in the beginning of the day so we at least nail one macronutrient. Also, just choose wisely. Lean protein, veggies, one indulgence if it fits. The socialization is actually a really good time to prove to yourself that you are capable of doing the things that you tell yourself that you're going to do. I kind of make it as like a challenge to my clients. Like, you're going out to dinner with your best friends. You told yourself that you're not going to drink during this first part of the program, or that you're not going to have desserts. Well, here's your opportunity to prove to yourself that, like, yes, I can finally do something that I told myself that I was going to do. I promise you that there's going to be more chances to have a beautiful chocolate lava cake in your life if we don't have it during this one time. But that doesn't mean you still can't have fun while you're there. Maybe your way of feeling successful is, like I said, pick one indulgence. Either it's you have a drink or you have desserts. You have appetizer or you have, a martini or your favorite beer. Maybe it's either popcorn at the movies or the dessert at dinner afterwards. Just pick one or the other. It's okay to have one of those small indulgences. We just kind of get in trouble when we kind of have, like, we make everything an indulgence. And if you need to, pack a protein bar or pack a shake before events. Like I said, it's super. If you got to drive somewhere, just chug a protein shake in the car before you get there. That way, you've at least got 20 to 30 grams of really great, awesome protein in your body. It's going to all of that muscle building signals that you have created in your body through strength training. It's going towards building your muscles. And now you have room to enjoy some other stuff later on. Um, the last question that we'll get to is somebody asked about kind of like what is the best way to sort of measure progress? And progress isn't just the scale. You've probably heard this quite a bit this week, and you've probably heard this everywhere on social media, and people say it all the time. And honestly, look, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be super vulnerable with you. It's so much easier to hear those things than to like actually take them and internalize them. But I want to talk to you about some other things to sort of watch out for and that help you know that what you're doing is working. And this is also reflective of the first question that somebody asked about what do I do like once I hit my goal weight? The scale is just a tool. It's not the only one. We have this giant toolbox in front of us, and it's not like we only ever choose the hammer for every single project that we do. Sometimes we need the screwdriver, sometimes we need the wrench, sometimes we need the electric drill. Those are like the only three tools that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure we use other ones, but the scale is not just the only thing that we're going to use in our journey. Things that you really want to look for are your clothes fitting differently. Again, something that people say all the time and it's kind of easy to dismiss, but feeling comfortable in your clothes and feeling like you're not like sausaged into your pair of jeans, or like, ladies, when you have that, like when your bra is like really too tight and it just feels so uncomfortable, or even just having a shirt that you like just feel like you can breathe and like it shows your figure or whatever. That is so incredibly empowering. Feeling confident in your clothes. So just because the scale isn't moving, but you feel like you put those pair of jeans on from last winter and you're like, look at me. That is amazing. That is progress right there. Also, improved workout stamina. Maybe when you first started, you were only able to get through 10 minutes of like, your toned to 90 workout that you were doing. And now, a month in, 2 months in, you can make it all the way through. That is incredible improvement right there. Something also that gets really overlooked: better digestion, sleep, and mood. When you start to take care of yourself and you start to prioritize your health and fitness, one of like the secondary thing like effects of that is just that you're in a better mood. You have better relationships with people. You look at things differently. I notice that if I take care of myself, I am a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm more patient with my kids. I feel like I don't have this like stress and burden on me that makes me snap and stuff like that all the time, because I'm doing something that's putting my needs as first as well too. Also, when you work out, like your body needs that rest and recovery time, so your sleep is going to feel so much better because your body's not fighting against itself. Better digestion. Once you start eating kind of like a whole natural foods diet, or kind of getting rid of some of like the ultra processed foods and stuff like that, maybe you notice like, hey, I don't have heartburn every single night, or I don't have this indigestion, or I'm not getting these migraines, or like I'm able to go to the bathroom like, more like once a day, whereas before it would be like a few days in between, stuff like that. All of those things are signs that what you're doing is working. And then the last part, kind of, that I would say is really how to measure progress is just consistency with habits. I just got off a call with one of my clients right before this, and she was talking about how this is the first time that she's actually like gone to the gym 3 times a week for 2 months straight in her entire life. That is a huge win. Consistency and hitting your water goal, eating a vegetable at every meal, all of those things like that. Consistency with habits that you know are going to have positive effects for you all down the road is also a huge win. Regardless of what the scale says, you showing up, proving to yourself that you can do what you set forth to do and that you are done making excuses for everything is a great, amazing sign of progress. So I don't want you to discredit all of the things that we just talked about that you see that are improving in your life just because the scales only is like moving slower than we want to. Progress shows up how you feel and how you live. So really just don't miss out on those signs. So those were some of the questions that were in there. If you have other questions that, or topics that we didn't get to, drop it in the comments below. One of us will be more than happy to answer that for you. And, I kind of just want to sort of wrap up and just remind you that every phase of your journey matters, whether it's losing weight, maintaining, learning to live healthier, learning to love yourself, learning to show up for yourself. All of those things matter in what you're doing. Sometimes it's really difficult to see that when you're in the moment, but I promise you, as somebody who has been doing this and has helped, I don't even know how many clients at this point now, that every single phase of this journey really truly does matter. And again, I keep saying this, but I want to really encourage you just to prove to yourself that you can do something. Lean on your coaches, lean out onto the other members in this group, lean out to a friend to help you through this. But this is your time to shine, and you've got all of the resources here with V-Shred to help you do so. I would love to hear some of your wins, some of the things maybe that, on some of these questions that I did answer that maybe you want to expand on, maybe a non-scale victory or something. Maybe you're somebody who did lose a bunch of weight and were able to maintain it. What were some strategies that worked really well for you? What do you do when you're kind of feeling stuck at social events, kind of stuff like that? So you are not in this alone. Stay consistent, give your body the time that it needs to respond and react to everything, and don't ever, ever be afraid to help. We're all here for you. Until next time, I hope that you enjoyed everything. Hope you had an awesome master class, and I look forward to answering any of your questions or comments that you have.